Joining in live from London, Alastair Newton of Nomura, someone who tracks political matters very closely. Alastair, thank you so much for joining us here at TT Now. I'm sure you'd be equally surprised, as all of us are, by the nature of this verdict. While most political pundits expected an NDA government, not too many would have stuck their neck out and given the NDA 320 plus seats.
Oh, absolutely correct. And in Britain, we have a phrase or saying, confession is good for the soul. And I would have to confess that although we confidently predicted a solid BJP NDA victory, we did say quite expressly that we thought that a majority would be a surprise outcome. And there is no question other than this is a big surprise outcome and a remarkable, in my view, paradigm shift in Indian politics. The most clear-cut majority for 30 years, a reversal of the trend of the two big parties, BJP and INC, seeing their share of the vote declining, and looking at the results we've seen today, the BJP finally establishing itself as a genuinely national electoral force and breaking out of its north and western heartlands. So a big moment in many respects for India. Whether one is a BJP supporter or not, one has to recognise that this is a moment of considerable change. The Indians have gone out and voted for change. In short, they have voted for Modinomics.
Mr. Newton, this is Mandi also joining in from the Delhi studio. You said this is a paradigm shift. Yes, this is a paradigm shift. But what does that really mean? What are you going to be looking out for? What does this paradigm shift break down into in terms of nuts and bolts for you?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and second guess the guests you've already had on the show about stock picks and so on. But we are certainly expecting to see out of this 3 years of, up to 3 years, maybe a little longer, of boosted growth. We're looking to see some significant reforms from the new majority government. From where it stands today, the BJP will be able to dominate the NDA coalition. It's clearly not going to need additional coalition partners outside of its existing coalition. And because of the way in which Mr. Modi fought this election campaign, as a largely presidential style campaign, it does give him personally a good deal of authority to push through the sorts of measures which have seen Gujarat been India's fastest growing state for the past decade. And let's just remember some numbers about Gujarat. 5% of India's population only, and around about 22% of its exports. This is quite remarkable. Now, clearly, replicating that success across India as a whole is not going to be straightforward, and we do need to have something of a reality check today. I was very struck by an article I read this morning by Thomson Reuters' Sanjeev Miglani. I thought it got the keynote absolutely right, and that is that soaring expectations may be getting ahead of the reality of Indian politics today. Mr. Modi is going to have to cope with dealing with vested interest. He's going to have to cope with a bureaucracy which is essential to get on side to implement change, powerful regional governments, and of course, Indian coalition politics always has a propensity to be fractious. Nevertheless, I don't want to be a damp squib on an important day in Indian politics. This clearly is an overall positive, but we just need to keep in mind that there are still considerable challenges ahead for a Modi-led government.